Hello, everyone. My name is Christian Eschbach, and welcome to another one of my album reviews. Hi there, everyone. My name is Christian Eschbach, and welcome to another one of my album reviews. I am going to do a double shot on this review for a very simple reason. I'm going to do AC/DC's Fly on the Wall, but I'm going to do the album that immediately followed it as well, because it's not really a full album, and it's directly connected to, and we're talking about AC/DC's Who Made Who. Okay. So, let me get into this really fast, okay? I'm one of the few people that actually defends Fly on the Wall. I think Fly on the Wall is one of those albums that, I know it's definitely during AC/DC's kind of time, but it's got some great bangers on it, man. Like, there's some really good tunes on here. So I will always defend this album and say that it was a very valid release at the time, and that any AC/DC fan should have it in their collection. I'm not going to say it's my favorite AC/DC album, because it's far from my favorite. It's far from my favorite even within the Brian Johnson era alone on its own. But anyways, title track, Fly on the Wall. Killer way to start off this album. Let me be very clear. If you've ever listened to Back in Black, For Those About to Rock album, if you've happened to hear the AC/DC Who Made Who album, there are definitely a few other ones in there. You've already heard this album, okay? You know what AC/DC sounds like. There's a reason why none of these songs honestly get played live, and it kind of sucks in a few cases, but not in too many. Fly on the Wall, anyways, great way to kick off the album. Overall, is it an overly memorable song? It's not bad. Shake Your Foundation. Okay. Appears on both of these albums. Shake Your Foundation, fantastic tune. Shake Your Foundation. Great hook to it. One of those songs I kind of really wish that they played it live, because it really has a great live energy to it. And I'll be fair, the Brian Johnson era kind of gets a little bit shit-canned live, it seems. I mean, I know everybody wants to hear the Bon Scott songs, because, myself included, the Bon Scott songs typically tend to be the better. But Brian has been with the band longer than Bon was alive. The dude needs a little more dues than he's getting when they're doing live sets. Shake Your Foundation should go back into the live sets. I really think so. First Blood. Not a bad tune, just not anything special. Doesn't really stand out. Danger stands out a little bit more than First Blood, but, same thing again. Not a bad song. Fills the album out nicely. Sink the Pink. Both of these again. Now, Shake Your Foundation and Sink the Pink are both on here. They're the only two songs on here that are off of here. And it's a good reason they're on here. They are probably the two best songs off the album, okay? I will come back around to the rest of this album afterwards, because that's where the direct connection between those two finishes off. I like Sink the Pink. I think it's got a great riff to it. Lyrics are your typical AC/DC cheeseball, horny teenager lyrics. Playing with Girls, basically what I just said, but a lot less memorable. Stand Up. Stand Up's not a bad tune. It's a little bit different. A little bit more kind of hooky, a little more power pop. AC/DC for a while was kind of lumped into metal. Especially when you hit the Razor's Edge era. But this, like, when you hear Stand Up, really kind of showed that leaning into the more glam side of things. The glam, it would definitely be more like a glam hard rock than a glam metal. you know, but definitely still in that era. Like, it was definitely hair sounding-ish. It got that thing going on with it. Hell or High Water, not a bad tune. I guess it's not, not one that it, when the album's playing, it's a great song. Not when I think of outside of it. Back in Business. I actually dig this one. This wasn't a cliche so much in the Bon Scott era, but in the Brian Johnson era, they got to a point where every album kind of had like that kind of gangland kind of sound to it. Uh, or that dark, dirty alley back end dealer kind of thing. And like you'd have songs like Dirty Deeds, but Dirty Deeds was more thuggish, more kick down the door and beat the shit out of you. When you get to the Brian Johnson era and you get to songs like Back in Business, If You Dare, maybe Night of the Long Knives to a small degree. Anyways, where I'm going with this is that you get more of this. Just bring it. You come at me. I'm not going to come at you. I'm not some hired hitman. Come at me. Just bring it. I am the big dog. Come bring it. I'm going to show you why I'm the big dog. Just kind of that kind of mentality per se. And Back in Business is probably the only other song outside of Shake Your Foundation and Sink the Pink that I honestly will throw into a mix. And I've done it in the past multiple times. Really dig and get on it. And Send for the Man finishes off the album. One thing I've always said about AC/DC is they basically kind of, with the exception of, it's like they really don't know how to finish an album off. Sometimes they do it right, they do it perfectly. Like when you look at Rock and Roll Ain't Noise Pollution finishing off Back in Black. Night Prowler finishing off Highway to Hell. Okay, great examples of them finishing off an album perfectly. But then you get Send for the Man finishing an album. And it's like, okay. Now, there's no real closer on this album as far as I'm concerned, so, you didn't really have an option on what you're going to put on as a closer. But it's just, whatever. And I find that happens a lot with AC/DC albums, where you kind of get to the end and it's just kind of like, okay, whatever. AC/DC kind of uses more of that. There's kind of two mentalities when it comes to an album. Especially because of the days of vinyl. Your A side was usually where a lot of bands put their best stuff, the stuff they really wanted to hear. And then the B side was usually, you might get one good song thrown in there, but the rest of the B side could end up being fillers or the more artistic stuff. You had your pop stuff on one side, the artistic stuff on the other. Zeppelin was famous for that to a degree. But Zeppelin also would do their artistic stuff all over the place too. So, that could go either way, really. Sorry. Metallica still uses actually that mentality where not all the time, but most of the time, most of their singles come from the front half of the album. They'll have one single at the back half of the album. And most of the back half of the album is kind of more of their artistic-y stuff or their filler stuff, This album follows that kind of mentality as well. I prefer when, they have solid endings, though. Like Metallica, every album they have always finishes out solid and perfect. I don't think they've ever had an album that finishes out weak. This one finishes out weak. But, as I said, this is an album I will defend because, I'm downplaying a lot of the songs on here. It is a really solid album with some really choice cuts on it. And it's one of those albums you got to let the album itself play through. It's an album that is meant to be enjoyed as an album, I think. That's how I always listen to it. I generally just don't pick out tracks from it. I throw on the album because I want to listen to the album. And it's one of those albums I'll do that with. It's one of those, if I'm being completely honest, it's really honestly a perfectly middle 5 out of 5 album. But it's a 5 out of 5 album that it's a 5 out of 5 when you compare it to like everything out there. When you compare it to the AC/DC catalog, it's a little bit higher than a 5 out of 5, a little bit, but it's still like it's got what you want to hear in an AC/DC album. So if you want to listen to an AC/DC album, but you don't want to listen to one of the ones that you've heard a million times, solid album to put on. I think. I don't know. All right, I rambled on that one. So let's get over to Who Made Who. The reason I'm including this is I covered half the songs already on here. No, I'm joking. All right, so Who Made Who is actually the soundtrack for Stephen King's Maximum Overdrive. Love the movie, great cheesy movie. Stephen King's only directorial movie, and he was out of his mind on coke with a great cameo. Check it online. Honey, I think this machine just called me an asshole. All right. Anyways, the soundtrack is what makes the movie, okay? If the movie did not have AC/DC Who Made Who soundtrack, I don't know if the movie would do as well. So you got the title track, Who Made Who, which is one of 3 original tracks on here. It's the only original track with lyrics on it. Who Made Who is a great song, and it is one of those songs that AC/DC can't replicate the same live. It is a production song because there is a certain hum and buzz to it that when they go to play it live, they can't replicate. It just doesn't quite, it's not there. It doesn't sound quite right. If you listen to it on here and then you listen to the AC/DC live album, it just doesn't. It's one of the few songs that falls short on the AC/DC live album compared to how it sounds on the original album. One of the few. Okay, then you got You Shook Me All Night Long, because most of the songs off here are taken off other albums, which, if you haven't caught already from when I talked about the 2 from Fly Off the Wall. All right. You Shook Me All Night Long's on here, great song. Obvious reasons to put that on there if you're going to put songs from AC/DC on here, right? A collection. Then you got DT. I love DT. I've played DT live. DT is honestly one of my favorite songs to jam out. It's an instrumental track. It's just meant kind of like a score in the background. Sweet. I really love it, man. It's just so fun to jam out on that tune. Sink the Pink I already discussed because that was on Fly on the Wall. Ride On. Talk about great AC/DC songs. And it was nice. It is the only Bon Scott song on here. So it was really nice that the Bon Scott song they put on here was the Bon Scott song. Hell's Bells. Shake Your Foundation, which I already talked about. Chase the Ace. Another great instrumental track. Really dig on it. Once again, it was kind of like a score instrumentally kind of part put together for this. Really, really good tune. Really dig on it. Lots of fun. And then it finishes off with For Those About to Rock, We Salute You. Oh. All right. If you have never, ever bought an AC/DC album before and you're looking for somewhere to start, you don't know where to start, but you need somewhere to start, Highway to Hell or Back in Black. However, and just buy both of those albums flat out at the same time. That's how I did it. That is the only way to do it. Okay. However, if you don't want to do those and you want to get a little bit of a mix, just a little bit of a mix, this will give you an itty bitty of a mix and a good itty bitty of a mix. Because you'll have You Shook Me All Night Long, which is one of the true classics. One of those ones that, quite honestly, they'll get you laid. Or at least get you some grinding. For Those About to Rock, I think is AC/DC's great masterpiece song. So, there's that. Like I said, I love DT. Who Made Who itself is a fantastic song. Just for that, really. Anyways, folks, I'm going to wrap it up. So this one, I love this album, but I understand why some people don't. This one, I think it's a must-own. I really do. Realistically, if you get this album and you don't want to go hardcore into AC/DC, you can get this album to technically not get this album. And you could technically not get the For Those About to Rock album too if you want it that way. Anyways, folks, my thoughts, my views, my opinions, comment section. Let me know what your thoughts and views and opinions are. I know I downplay a lot of the songs on here, so let me know what your favorite songs are off here. I love this album. I think every AC/DC starter should have this album. This is a great spot to begin with. Let me know what you think about that. That's what the comment section's for. Like button, subscribe button, bell for notifications. There are links below that will take you to the TWA, the Trampoline Wrestling Association. Check that out. There's a link to Patreon as well. I think I'm going to start putting up just all my stuff for download as audio files on there. That'll be coming soon in the near future now I got some more time. Anyways, everybody, let me know what you think about everything. Hit the like button, subscribe button, the bell for notifications. Peace, love, take care.